This is Mr. Kaufman from High 5 History with an instructional video showing you how you can use your APARTS analysis in your argumentative writing. So if you're not aware, APARTS is a strategy to help us analyze the point of view of a source, of the person who wrote a document. And if you need a review on APARTS and how to use APARTS to analyze your sources, please check out the video named accordingly. So in this video, again, I'm going to show you just one way to incorporate your APARTS analysis into your argumentative writing. So just as a fast reminder, I break down my analysis into two acronyms, into two different strategies. First one is MARS, main idea, audience, relevance, and source. That helps me to analyze a document. And then when I go down to determine the point of view or to break down or to analyze further the source, I use APARTS. Author, place, audience, reason, time, and subject. So again, MARS helps us analyze the document. APARTS helps us analyze the source. So what it does is APARTS helps us to determine the attributes and the point of view of a source that affects the message, right? Affects what the person says. And once you've done that, here's a sample of what it might look like in your writing or in your arguments. I have this general template. Of course, as a writer, you should feel free, and I encourage you to change the template to fit your writing voice. But here's a generic way to help you get started and help you organize your ideas in a clear and argumentative and effective way. So you'll start your sentence as a blank blank. So in this case, you'd include the background of the person, who they are, what they do, and their name. So I'll go back to my example from APARTS, which was Pericles. So as an orator in statements, Pericles would have believed, right, so that's my starting. And then I would paraphrase here what he says. So as an orator or a statesman, Pericles believed that people should be involved in politics, and if they were not, they're not worthy. He most likely wrote this or because they most likely wanted, and then again you might talk about the motive. Right? He most likely said this because he wanted to persuade people to get involved in the politics. Because this speech, or document type, was written at the time and in Athens, right, it is a reliable source because he was involved in politics and involved in Athenian and Greek government. So that's what it sounds like. But let's take a look at what that looks like in my writing. All right, so here I have my notebook over on the right side, and I have then my my format or my template over here on this side. So let's go back to the beginning. As a statesman and orator, comma, Pericles believed that all men should be involved in politics, and those who were not worthy. In this case, I'm gonna add a period because the sentence has run on a little bit, and I don't want to continue and to actually make a run-on sentence. So let's see if we can just put a period there. And looking back then over at my template, right, why do they want to do this? He wrote this to persuade and to combat his fellow Athenians. Right. Again, now moving right on. All right, because this, I'm just going to start with this instead of adding my because, but again, this is a general template. You add your own writer's voice in as I'm doing now. This quote could have been a speech as well. Was written in Athens during Pericles' time as a statesman, comma, making it a reliable source. Now, I do want to address a little bit why I think it's reliable, but I also want to counteract that I think his point of view was from that of a wealthy statesman, so I want to include that in there and say how that might affect biases of how that's a bias on his ideas. Reliable source. Although Pericles' background as a wealthy statesman influences his idea of involvement. Great. Now I might go on and talk about how if you were to look at a soldier or a commoner's point of view, that it might differ slightly from Pericles in that his word on government in Athens should be counteracted with someone else not from a ruling class, right? Taking into account, again, that Pericles grew up in a wealthy and powerful family. So you can see here, I took my general template on how to use APARTS analysis in my writing, and I made it my own, right? I used the general format from the template. However, I used my voice to make it my writing. So there you have it, a way to incorporate APARTS into your writing. I hope that you enjoy and that you're able to use this in your arguments and in your essays.